You're the highlight of my day. Hello. Sorry.
We've heard. Yeah. So it's been a long time since you professionally performed work other than your own, right?
Yeah.
So how did that work for you doing Mary Poppins?
It is the fruit of the harvest. No, honestly, I started writing in the Heights because I very quickly realized at age 18 that no one was going to write my dream musical, that I did not have the ballet training to play Bernardo in West Side Story, or Paul in a chorus line. If you're a Puerto Rican dude, that's all you get. Canon. So in the Heights really was the beginning of creating my own opportunities. Hamilton is an extension of that, and then to have Rob Marshall call you and tell you, it's Emily Blunt as Mary Poppins, and you're the only other person we have in mind, and we're going to build from there. That was the fruit of the harvest. The harvest I began when I was 18 years old.
How is it different being in musical theater versus starring in a musical movie production?
You finish the 8-minute dance number, and you wait a year and a half. But honestly, you're trying to tell the truth on stage, and you're trying to tell the truth in film. The difference is the energy source. Doing 8 shows a week as a yoga, you're going to hit the same positions every night, but you're going to hit them differently depending on your energy, the audience, your fellow performers, and you have 2 the next day. The energy source in making a film is, especially a film like this, today you're dancing with penguins. Tomorrow you're singing with Meryl Streep. Friday you're shutting down Buckingham Palace with 800 bikers. And you're not coming back. We're not going back to the Penguins next week. You don't get 2 shows a day with Meryl Streep tomorrow. So the adrenaline source becomes, this is a once-in-a-lifetime moment, and you have to be completely present. And so it just shifts from the audience to the sheer one-of-a-kindness of it.
Which scene are you the most proud of?
Oh, that's a great question. There's so many scenes I'm proud of. It's funny, there's scenes I'm proud of because they're my own fault, and there's scenes I'm proud of because they took so much practice and mastery. Tommy Kail, who directed Hamilton, said that he was most moved. Sorry. He was most moved when he saw me slide down the banister in Triple Little Light Fantastic, because I've been doing, that's like the one thing I actually know how to do really well. As Tommy Kail put it, you don't know how to land a joke or sing a note or grow a beard without practice. Man, you were born to slide down a banister. And then there are moments that represent hours and hours of hard work, from the 8-minute continuous dance sequence in Triple Little Light Fantastic, and Rob ran it as an 8-minute dance sequence. There's sort of the 3 minutes of the song that are getting to that abandoned playground, and that was on location throughout London, and now we're here, and now we're in the sewer, and now we're here, and then there's that sequence, and that sequence was run as if it was a Broadway musical number. From jumping on the lamppost to the flaming sticks balancing on my foot, that was all run of a piece with hundreds of cameras around. And I'm very proud of that. I've never danced like that in my life. None of my shows, there's incredible dancing with Hamilton. Hamilton doesn't do it. The ensemble does. And so I was very proud of that because it was a lot of hard work to get there.
Did you find the costumes comfortable or uncomfortable, especially with dancing in them?
Yeah. Well, Sandy Powell's a wizard, and she's sort of a Mary Poppins herself. She looks not of this world. She comes in with this orange hair and these amazing outfits. The next thing you know, you're wearing an amazing outfit, which is very Poppins-esque. But dancing was always given priority. So even in those hand-painted suits in the Royal Dalton Bowl, and that is painted, that is like acrylic paint on these suits, there's give and there's stretch in the pants so that we can sort of do our work.
Do you remember the first time you saw Mary Poppins and what that meant to you?
I remember seeing the first 2/3 of Mary Poppins. We had the VHS cassette, and it was, some of you will remember this.
Yes.
They had their own section in the home library because they were fluffy and white. And then I remember turning it off during Feed the Birds. Feed the Birds is the most emotionally devastating melody in the history of cinema, and I was not ready for it as a kid. So I remember crying and turning it off. I didn't see the end of Mary Poppins till I was like in high school. because that song was just too sad. It was just too sad for my tender little heart. And so I remember the first 2/3 of it on repeat, and then Feed the Birds. I was like, oh, okay, we'll play. That was my experience growing up.
So Dick Van Dyke was kind of infamous for the accent. And since you were taking
Best accent in the history of cinema.
And so you were taking on absolutely. So you were taking on the Burt-esque role. What was the process of
What I realized going in was that no matter what I did, I would have my accent would be scrutinized for the rest of my career if Dick Van Dyke is any indication. But the fun of that is, music is sort of my catalyst for everything. So I had an amazing dialect coach named Sandra Butterworth, which is a very Poppinsian name in and of itself, and she became my closest friend and ally on set, whispering in my ear between takes, and also music. She realized that music was my way in. So it was not just listening to music sung in East End's Cockney accents. It was music in the 1930s. Because it's not just about the part of the world, it's about the time of the world. It's about the when as well. So I listened to a lot of Anthony Newley, who was a big sort of music hall star. He then also wrote a Broadway musical called Stop the World, I Want to Get Off in the 1960s. But I listened to a lot of his early stuff, and that was my sort of North Star for the accent.
How do you feel that you can inspire children, your son, that everything is possible?
I was inspired by him. We made this movie we started making it right when my son was turning 2. He was just gaining language. And, my character, really the biggest note Rob Marshall gave me is that all the other grown-ups forget what it's like to be a child except for Jack. And so my biggest research was watching my son play in Princess Di Park in Kensington Park in London, watching his boundless imagination. We are all born with that. I think that's inherent in us until life does what it does. And so, that was my secret weapon in finding Jack, was I had a 2-year-old research assistant that kept me childlike and kept me in that mode.
The bike. You rode the bike a lot.
Gertie. That's what I called her.
Yeah. So, do you normally ride a bike, or and was there like other wheels on it that were with a green screen? Like, how did you guys?
You're talking about the balancing specifically.
Yeah, it was.
So the bike I called Gertie because she was not your average bike. This is not your Schwinn 10-speed. This is an old bike with a 20-pound ladder in a basket on the right side. So you're constantly accounting for that. So I would bike to craft services. I would bike around. I biked that thing all over Shepperton Studios until it was second nature to me. And then in the sequences where all the kids in Mary Poppins are on the bike, we just have a set of training wheels that we CGI'd out. So it's really me driving those kids on that bike. There's just a certain limit to how far they can tip over. That's the training wheels, and then those are taken out in post.
Now, how was it like to be in the Upside Down, actually, with
Meryl Streep? I mean, every day with Meryl Streep feels like you're in the Upside Down. How is this my life? How are we on the ceiling? It was a joy. I mean, I think that's the sequence that I think when I watch the movie, I watch it more closely every time because it's a triumph of production design. The way every ceiling element becomes a floor element, and then Meryl. I talked to Emily Blunt about this. She's done 3 films with Meryl. She's gone from being her assistant to being the lead of the movie. It's been kind of an incredible Prada-esque journey. And what Emily told me going in was that, like, Meryl just kind of stays in the character, but not like method Daniel Day-Lewis cobbling shoes. Like, she's just kind of in the spirit of it. And I felt so lucky that she was in the spirit of a character that's so mischievous and flirty and fun. I've told this story before, but there was one moment between setups where she just looked at the kids and went, "Hey kids, I can't do Meryl. Emily can do Meryl. Hey kids, you want to know how to do a pratfall?" And she went, "Ha!"
Oh my God.
Everyone runs in like Meryl Streep has died. And she gets up, she goes like this, and she goes, "I learned that at Yale School, Joe." it was just to show off for the kids. And so I was very grateful that, you know, I got to play with that version of Meryl Streep.
Has your son seen the movie?
Not yet. He'll see it in a couple of weeks. But I brought him to work every time I had a musical number. And when we would drive through London while we were living there, he would point at Big Ben and say, "Daddy climbs that to work." So I'm so curious now that he has much more language than he did, how those moments will sort of percolate and solidify in his brain.